So my name is Andrea, and my presentation is on mental illness and its importance in public health. So what are the causes of mental illness? There are many extensive and unique factors that play into mental illness, which is why it's such a difficult thing to overcome, as it is a silent killer. As mentioned in my research paper, mental illness has such a broad spectrum, and there's no defining exactly each person's mental illness. The brain is such an extensive and unique thing that there's no way to pinpoint everyone's mental illness exactly. Previous traumas, whether physical, mental, or sexual trauma, and abuse is common in the causes. Simply the molecular makeup or the certain way neurons are functioning in the brain can play a big factor in mental illness and why it has been linked to brain injuries as well. Athletes, for example, football players and any other athletes that have blunt force trauma when playing can see the factors later in life, possibly of mental illness. Technology and social media can also be linked to mental illness, and seeing the increasing glorification of being depressed and anxious is essentially promoting mental illness as something you want. Substance and drug abuse is also something that is linked to depression and anxiety, also paranoia as well. What effects does it have on public health? The APHA's second essential public health service is to investigate, diagnose, and address health problems and hazards affecting the population. It is a priority in public health to prevent more hazards and mental illness, which can commonly branch out to other areas and issues in public health. Later factors like increased violence and suicide can pose a real problem to public health, as well as gun violence, which is involved whether it's self-inflicting or not, or if it's used against the public and people around. Quote unquote, the results indicate that exposure to childhood trauma was associated with the heightened dissociation across SMIs. Positive significant associations were also found between specific childhood adversities and dissociation, with aggravated effect sizes in small to moderate range. So the effects of trauma can have even more severe factors later in life, whether it's just dissociating, which is a part of mental illness, or it is combined, both mental illness and dissociating. According to this article, the children of women who received a specific vitamin had decreased time in the presence of a distractor at 8.5 years of age, compared with children in other groups. So what this article is saying, how prenatal causes can perhaps be just vitamins, and in this case, where this research paper choosing the sugar pills, there's definitely a factor and a significance between having certain vitamins, which can later affect your child's mental well-being, rather than taking sugar pills, which can show the correlation and the significance. Why is it more prevalent in today's society? Now in today's society, mental illness is more prevalent than ever, especially due to COVID-19 pandemic, the election, and increased tension in America and the world, which has caused an overload of heightened suicide rates and mental illness. As COVID-19 is a public health problem, one on its own, in quotations, this is consistent with the results of a recent Kaiser Family Foundation survey, indicating that 45% of adults in the USA have reported their mental health being negatively impacted due to the worry and stress of the coronavirus. There are severe impacts of this pandemic, which has many other tail-end effects that bubble and create more public health issues in a sense. So alongside the pandemic, there are fears of catching the virus, there's elongated social isolation, and etc., which can also tie into technology as well. In today's society, there's no need for real social interaction. Everything we have is available on our computers, phones, any technology, we have everything available. There's no need to be one-on-one with people. There's no need to even have class in a sense, because everything is available. With that, the U.S. elections have also posed severe stress on many, as it is such a landmarking moment in history due to the increased tension of the right and left wing, which can cause severe stress, paranoia, and anxiety. The public health prevention strategies. So first of all, the primary prevention focuses mainly on mentally ill at hand. They often help receive treatment through a doctor's note and or Zoloft or a type of pill to help them through it, as well as counseling therapy. So technically primary prevention is just the treatment at hand of the mentally ill. Secondary prevention is to alert, intervene during the early stages or the relapse of mental illness. Prevalence is the main target, and public health organizations like the CDC try to break the stigma and try to target certain people to get help and break that stigma of mental illness. The tertiary prevention is to prevent it as a whole and reduce the population in general who has the severe mental illness. So tertiary is just trying to reduce the numbers as a whole rather than secondary being a target, like targeting specific groups, and primary targeting specifically one person in a sense. Lastly is the mental health resources. So SAMHSA, National Help Hotline, is providing 24/7, 365 days a week treatment as a treatment referral routing service. And many of these others, like Suicide Prevention Hotline, the Crisis Text Hotline, and many others, provide 24/7 crisis counselors and support and information for emergencies. You can also contact your public health organizations like CDC, WHO, NAMI, HRSA, etc., and also your primary care providers, which can provide you different options and treatments that are available if you're not in immediate danger.